Hi, everyone. This is Tracy Malone from narcissistabusesupport.com. Today, I'm going to be speaking with my estranged parents in my YouTube channel and trying to talk to them about something that happens quite often when your child is married or with a narcissist and they're being coercively controlled to not have you in their life. So, our topic today is when your child decides to tell their story. And they don't just tell it to their friends because 9 times out of 10, their friends have already been eliminated from their relationship. And so they tend to sort of start to go after relatives, let their side be heard. And this is so frustrating for parents because you didn't go to their friends. Why should they come to your friends and make their case? And it's not that they're trying to convince your friends that, you want them back in their life. They're not trying to help. They're trying to further divide. They're trying to turn your friends against you. And this includes family too. And, there's different times of the cycle when this might happen and things that, like, say, a cousin's getting married and everyone might be in the same room. Then they think that the best thing is to get their side out. It's like a PR campaign. Like, envision it as they are just sharing their version of the truth because they are pretty sure you've told them, regardless of whether you did or you didn't. They tell it for a reason, right? And we have to understand that there's several reasons to validate their pain. Of course, they feel misunderstood and wounded and confused, and they are latching on to your family, but they're not telling the whole truth. They're not telling that the narcissist in this relationship, their spouse, their dating partner, whoever it is telling them all of these lies about their family. Instead, they control what they're saying to your friends and family by, just talking about things and twisting them. Where's my little twisting thing? I have this little twisting thing I use when I'm talking with clients. And I'm like, they twist your words. If you say it's black, they say it's not really black. You know, it, they're going to get this stuff out there and they want the chance to be believed before you potentially might get to them and tell them the truth. And a lot of times you have to remember estrangement is kind of a silent thing. The pain of it is often tucked inside the family, tucked inside the trusted circle of friends and people. And the rest of the world doesn't really know what goes on. And that includes those uncles and aunts, your sister. You might be close to your sister, but not your second cousin or things like that, right? And so when the child starts to do this, you have to know that they are doing it with purpose, right? Yes, they're controlling the narrative. They want their side out there so that you're not going to look at them funny at the dinner at the cousin's wedding, right? They also do it because they are trying to punish you, to shame you. This is all about power when there is a narcissist involved, right? Painting you publicly as an abuser, unsafe, hurting people, all of these things, whatever the narrative is that you've heard, expect that to be pushed out to your, friends and family, right? And when this is happening, the narcissist is always pulling the puppet strings. If I had a little puppet with the strings, the dancing ones, Pinocchio would be a good example. They are orchestrating this because they don't want to walk into a situation where they're feeling shame, where they think that other people already know the story and they've got to get ahead of it, right? Again, very PR campaign, like boom, right? They want to isolate you so that people don't know who to believe. They want to, discredit whatever you might have said by, let me tell you the real truth of what's going on here. And they'll do it to your friends. They'll do it to, again, anybody they possibly can. So when this happens, people say to me, well, what am I supposed to do about this, right? You have to be careful. Don't rush in and try to set the record straight because defensiveness can be spun as guilt. And it could also be sort of like, you're coming in to explain it all and justify it and all of that. And it's not necessarily what is needed, right? Listening and figuring out what they've heard would help. And then you can clear the record from there if they're willing to share with you what they've heard. But also really understanding who's listening to it and who might be taking sides, because now you're walking into the cousin's wedding and you don't know who to trust because you've heard from two people that this sort of smear call campaign is going on. You don't really feel comfortable. You don't even like know if someone looks at you funny. It could be because you had food in your teeth instead of the fact that they're looking at you funny because you're an abusive parent and you're evil and you're cruel to their love of their life, right? Um, but managing the reputation after this damage is done is pretty much all you can do because you don't know who they're saying it and doing it to. So, you have to hold your truth and understand that this is what's going on and know that this is what we call in the narc world a smear campaign, right? It is so coercively controlled to be expected, right? Because when they do this, they're rewriting family history. So they've got this version, and again, oh, twisted it, lied about it. And then they want to get out there and go, no, they were abusive. I know it looked like they were a great parent, but no, I want to tell you this, right? And the reason that they are doing this is because they are heavily influenced by the narcissistic partner. That the narcissistic partner wants them to get out there and, you know, make their claims so that they're not shamed when they get to the cousin's wedding. And sorry, I'm using that as an example. You can insert any holiday or anything that goes in there for your family, right? But when they have been rewriting your history and your life, this is why they've got to get ahead of it. They've got to tell their truth, right? And so when your friends or family come to you and go, what is this, right? You have to be able to bridge the truth and what is coercive control. Remembering what's going on is really important for your friends on what education is. And while I don't have the final cover yet, I do have a really good new book. This is going to be a new little book that's coming out. It says, They Don't See It, But You Do, How to Gently Explain Abuse, right? So this would be a really good tool for someone to give a family member to show what's actually been happening. And when you're thinking about having this discussion with cousin Lucy, I don't know why that name came in my head, but when you're thinking about this, I want you to sit down and if you know some of the things that, Aunt Lucy was told about you, make a list of it and figure out what you're going to say. And I'm not saying you're writing out a different story. You're just figuring out what you want to say. But you also should be organizing kind of a place where you are mapping out certain events and things that perhaps you want to share with your cousin, right? It's these are the kind of things that we've been enduring. This might be a text to show you where they said this to me and now they're denying it. Just think about the things that once this gets exposed to the, people you haven't told it to yet, have some things in your pocket that show, this relationship was really fast. And, while that on its surface isn't bad, but, this is what started happening and we couldn't do anything right. And, you start to explain, but I don't want you to story barf the whole story. I want you to be prepared with talking points, specific. These are kind of the gaslighting things I've seen. This is the horrible abuse or the verbal things or these attacks or, think of some of the worst situations and use those as your examples. Because a lot of times parents are like, you're all of you look crazy. Just say anyone who explains abuse to someone who doesn't understand it is going to look crazy. So when your kid goes in there and they've got this like, great story about how cruel you are, you need to be able to come back in with like some concrete evidence of the truth of what's going on. that's going to help protect you, because if you don't do it and you walk into the wedding and everyone looks at you funny, you might find out this has been going on all along. This is Tracy Malone. Thank you so much for listening. We are one step closer to this book being released, Estranged by Lies. There we go. How narcissistic partners use power and control to destroy your family. And I'm just waiting for some teeny tiny text and this red line to get fixed on the bottom. And then we're pretty darn close. So expect that to be coming out. It's going to be a life changer for so many parents. It's built on the things I teach in my groups. It's built on the things I teach my clients and the tools that they need to get through this and survive this horrible, dark, scary time. So this is Tracy Malone. If you are in an estrangement situation with a narcissistic in-law or partner, please visit my website, narcissistabusesupport.com. I have so many blogs, so many articles, so many tools that might help you better understand what's going on. So until next time, I'll see you then. Thank you so much.